Life isn't about avoiding the bruises. It's about collecting the scars to prove that we showed up for it. Join Nikki Seberini for the next hour as she explores heroism through illness. There is a warrior inside each of us. This is Lifelinks with the DL Link. Lifelinks is a funding initiative of the DL Link.
Well, welcome to the show. This is the DL Link Show on 101.9 Chai FM, the show where we connect you through insights and information and illumination. I do hope that you're having a wonderful, wonderful Thursday so far. Certainly here in Joburg, the weather is shifting. It's not quite so cold. We're starting to rub our hands together in anticipation for spring. But as we all know, you never know, that cold front could be lurking just around the corner. So we just go with the change of seasons, change of weather. And we face it as we do all the changes that happen in life. And, you know, that's very often what we focus on this show, the DL Link Show. So many challenges and changes and overcoming and celebration and all the things that life has to offer. And when we talk about change in life,
Chai FM, your station of choice since 2008.
We are back, the DL Link Show on 101.9 Chai FM. Let's start with our first guest, Saskia Breedt, who is a traumatic brain injury survivor. You know, Mental Illness Awareness Month in South Africa is officially recognized in July. And a lot of the focus is on reducing stigma and educating the public, encouraging treatment. And when it comes to the brain and when it comes to mental illness, you know, it's not like having something that you can see. And very often, as we talk about the stigma, we don't treat it like we would diabetes or treat it like we would cholesterol and get the right medication and know that it's something that happens. There is so much around mental illness. And that's why for the month of July to be able to bring awareness to this is really, really important. So, you know, a brain injury is not a mental illness. A brain injury is an injury to the brain that brings about many changes. It can alter one's life completely and can then produce issues like anxiety, depression. So we've decided to unpack this really, really important topic on the show today with Saskia Breedt, who herself has experienced a traumatic brain injury and has experienced firsthand the impact that it has had on her life and those around her. So Saskia, welcome and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Nikki. Thanks for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to share my story. And yes, what you've just mentioned is I've actually got a statistic from 2024 on that 30 to 70% of individuals with TBI are diagnosed with depression. So there's a definite link between traumatic brain injury and mental health. And I think in today's day and age, we just, you know, we want to put things in boxes and we want to tick people off into sections and clear cut and dry things. But unfortunately, life doesn't work like that. We have overlapping systems and, you know, operate as a whole. So the one does affect the other.
Yeah, and like with anything, Saskia, you know, when there's ignorance around it, we don't know. And then, as you say, then we want to categorize it and we want to pigeonhole people and that's the last thing. I mean, it's so unproductive to do that. So shining the light and educating people becomes really, really important. As you were saying, the link between the traumatic brain injury and depression, being diagnosed with depression, 30 to 70%, that's huge and that's very high. And we're going to get there because I'd like to know why a traumatic brain injury could then cause depression. So let's just talk about you and your story, Saskia, because when I read your story, I mean, you talk about experiencing mental health challenges from the age of 13. And perhaps you can just explain to the audience how that showed up for you, and how you knew, like, if you can go back, it started at 13.
Well, yes, in fact, it started earlier than that, but research has shown that depression shows up differently in children. So it might be the tummy ache, or, a change in personality, like being withdrawn instead of being a bouncy, exuberant type of child. So what it showed up for me when I was about that age was, being withdrawn, going into myself, questioning my own identity and my purpose in life, and starting to compare myself with others. So it actually, I wasn't diagnosed until I think about 16 was my first diagnosis, but it definitely did show up differently, and I can see it retrospectively now. I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah, and it must have been quite isolating, as you say, to experience that from such a young age, to feel so separated from everyone, and yet only being diagnosed at 16. And when you were diagnosed, and you were told that you were suffering from depression, how did your family respond? Did you tell people around you? And most importantly, did you feel, at last I know? Or did you feel shame or embarrassment? What played out when you were diagnosed?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. It's the shame. It's a shame with having a label stuck onto you, and it was never discussed, or I think many parents are scared of putting their children onto medications, but that's also a form of ignorance, because surely, just to go and research what medications are available, going to talk to doctors and finding out things, making a calculated decision. So it was just never spoken about, or if it was an encouragement, those stereotypical things like pull yourself together, think positively, winners, when the road gets tough, the tough get going, all of those things. So, that's how they reacted, I would say.
And Saskia, you then went on to become a teacher. You for 19 years, dedicating your time to children, and probably bringing a tremendous understanding and insight as well with teaching children. How was that for you?
Well, teaching, I chose the profession as I thought it was a calling. That's my purpose that I have. My skill set falls within that range. So I started teaching. I studied, started teaching with a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, I'm going to change the world kind of thing. And it didn't actually pan out that way. But teaching is a giving profession. Social workers, paramedics, teachers, doctors, we're in the people business, basically. So what you do has a direct effect on the people that you're dealing with. So that sense of purposefulness and making a difference in the world is very apparent. And, after my injury now, that is one of the biggest trauma events in my life, is that sense of purpose that was lost.
So sense of purpose is, as you say, it's so important. So let's talk about this. The morning on the 20th of July 2024, when a taxi stopped in front of you and you hit the taxi, you hit your head, you were unconscious for a short period of time, and then you went to the ER for an X-ray and you were told that you had concussion. And for you, when you first went and you were told, no, you're okay, it's concussion and you can continue with life, did you get a sense that maybe there was more? I mean, I'm just saying, it's, it turned into you had this traumatic brain injury, but at the time it was really just diagnosed as a concussion and you would get on with life. So maybe you can just share that with us.
Well, yes, that is what happened. I had a cycling accident, and funnily enough, my head injury was not the thing that brought me to the ER. It was a soft tissue injuries on the left side of my body, and I went to the ER, and only later on it was discovered that I had concussion. And again, the ignorance within my own mind that, do you know what? It's just a concussion. Yeah. It's just a concussion. Lie in bed for a while, close the curtains, and you'll be fine. And that just a concussion has changed my life in every aspect. So I get quite upset when people say just a concussion, but I can't, because that's what I said as well.
Yeah. So let's talk about the difference between just a concussion and what you had, which was because a concussion is also a traumatic brain injury.
Yes.
And it has everything to do with how extensive the injury is. So perhaps you can just share, there you are, you say you just need to lie in bed and close the curtains, but what started to happen to you that you realized that there was something more?
So I'm actually diagnosed with persistent concussion syndrome, which means, in a nutshell, that it's concussion that just keeps on going. It persists. There's no, if I Google it and you see what are the criteria, it just says the concussion symptoms can linger from days to months to years. So it's like up in the air, what is it? And I've heard it said that once you've seen one brain injury, you've seen one brain injury. So you cannot make a blanket statement and say all people who hit their head on the left side will exhibit these kinds of symptoms. Sorry, just remind me what your question is. I've gone off on a tangent.
Sorry, no, not at all, Saskia. I also missed some of your answer. I don't know why my signal, my side, is just giving me a bit of a hard time. We were talking about how extensive this injury was, that you had been diagnosed with persistent concussion syndrome, and it's you feel it's, there's nothing they can do. This is how you feel. And you spoke a little bit earlier about this lack of purpose, and what a huge impact it's had on your life. So maybe we can just look at what you've done with this. Perhaps we can talk about Headway, what Headway does, and how it supports people who have these traumatic brain injuries.
Yes, indeed. Before I go to that, I can just mention a few of my symptoms. That my scans were clear. CT scan, MRI, they were clear. But the damage that happens on a concussion is a cellular level. It's microscopic, so it doesn't mean the damage is not there or the injury. It means that the machine that we're using to look at these scans don't yet show up the extensive damage that might be there. So for me, my speech is affected. I started a stutter since my accident. I have word finding difficulties. I say the wrong word, so I'd say shop instead of shower. Cognitively, I have dyslexia, slow processing, getting overwhelmed quite a lot, so I avoid busy situations. Like going to a shop is a huge thing for me because of all the sensory input, the messages. It's like my brain is not able to switch off the background or discriminate between background and foreground, noises and lights and input. Physically, my eyes don't work together. It's a bit like a chameleon's eyes. And sound, I get bothered by loud sounds or high-pitched sounds or even low-pitched sounds as well. Psychologically, emotionally, loss of self-confidence, fatigue, socially, a loss of friends and family, spiritually, loss of faith, and questioning my purpose, and that's why I find this so valuable, because it's been a bit more than 2 years after my accident, and I now have a platform that I can share my story, and in that offer hope to other people that might be in the same situation or might what's the word, relate.
Saskia, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, I was thinking of a word. Welcome to my life. I was thinking of a word. So yes, there are people that might relate to my story, and just saying it out loud. I am not alone. These feelings and thoughts and symptoms that I have, I'm not alone in that. And I can share it with other people. And as soon as I say it out loud, other people can hear it and realize that they are not alone. Because half of the problem is thinking that it's such a lot of shame, having an invisible brain injury and then having mental illness difficulties on top of that. It's kind of a taboo subject, a stigmatized subject to talk about.
Yeah, which is, as we said, which is why it's so important to have this conversation, and as you say, to have the support headway in the support. You're married and you have children, and navigating all of this as a mom has, I'm sure, also been particularly challenging.
Well, actually, I'm not married and I don't have children.
Why do I think? Oh, I thought you did have children. I'm so sorry.
Maybe it's still coming.
Saskia, maybe we've just read your future.
They say teaching is the best contraceptive. Yeah, no, I've had many children over the years, but just not my own. I have two beautiful nieces that keep me on my toes, though.
So Saskia, just tell us a little bit more for people who are listening, who know of people who've had a traumatic brain injury, who are navigating this. As you said, it's invisible. You can't see it, but you just feel like you're living in this almost alternate reality. Yes. Tell us, how do they get hold of Headway? What is the story? How can they get that same kind of support?
So Headway is an NGO that supports people that have survived a traumatic brain injury or an acquired brain injury. So it's not always being bumped by a car or, falling over. It's also strokes and encephalitis, meningitis, different disorders that affect the function of the brain. as well as their family members. It's a community-based approach. Nothing happens in a vacuum. We are connected to each other, and that's what makes Headway so special. Headway Gauteng, we have two campuses. The one is in Hyde Park, and the other one is in Soweto. And it's just for people who come in from varying abilities. When you just look at some people, you can see, okay, there are physical signs of them having a brain injury, but others you cannot. And I'm, one of those people, and I don't even know if you can say luckily or unluckily, that people cannot see what's happening inside my mind. And I can get a lot of flack from that because, you look fine. Why are you, what's wrong? Just pull yourself together, suck it up, make it work.
Yeah.
And it's not the case at all. So Headway really is like a safe harbor. Their little, I don't know what you call it, a picture, logo is a lighthouse. And it brings light in the darkness, being the hope that you're not alone. We have facilitated classes with therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists. We have student counselors that volunteer their time. We have volunteers that come in and just assist during the group sessions. And, it's just a wonderful haven for people that can be together.
Well, I want to just share the website being headwaygauteng.co.za, headwaygauteng.co.za. And I think that what you've said, Saskia, just being this lighthouse in the darkness, knowing that you're not alone, shared stories, and, supporting one another is so very important. And I'm so glad that we had an opportunity to talk about this important topic. And we're so grateful that you took time to share your story with us. Thank you so much, Saskia. It really has been lovely having you on the show.
Thanks, Nikki. I do appreciate it. And I just, if there's something that I can leave behind is maybe for the listeners themselves or for people that they know that are just suffering from mental illness or brain injury, that they might not even know it. And there's a lot of flack that we get, that we can get from ignorant people or people that just don't recognize it as a legitimate thing, that, you're not alone. And there is hope. There is hope. Just open your eyes, look up, and find out that the hand is already there, reaching out to you. Thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you, Saskia. Thank you so much. We so appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Saskia Breedt, just sharing her story and an encouragement that Headway Gauteng for as a support system. We're going to play a song and we're going to take a break. And then we're going to be talking about pain, chronic pain, physical, psychological. Kaylee Alberts, an occupational therapist,